Welcome back. Last segment, we just heard from one of the principals, a member of the Judiciary Committee, Senator Blumenthal. In a little bit, we'll hear the political, but now let's get to the legal. Last night, just hours before William Barr testified before the Senate, the news broke about Bob Mueller's discussions with Barr about the AG's handling of his 448-page report. And, to put it politely, Mueller wasn't happy. The two men spoke about it on the phone after Mueller sent a letter to Barr. I want to read a portion of that letter. It deals directly with Barr's response to Congress. Quote, "The summary letter the department sent to Congress and released to the public late in the afternoon of March 24th did not fully capture the context, nature, and substance of this office's work and conclusions. There is now public confusion about critical aspects of the results of our investigation. This threatens to undermine a central purpose for which the department appointed the special counsel to assure full public confidence in the outcome of the investigations." Now that letter, it was sent March 27th, yet 2 weeks later, Barr was asked about whether or not he had any idea that Mueller could be upset, because there was rumblings and even reports of it that part of the Mueller prosecutorial team was not happy on how Barr spun the report. I want you to take a listen to the exchange, which starts with a question from Florida Democrat Charlie Crist.
Reports have emerged recently, General, that members of the special counsel's team are frustrated at some level with the limited information included in your March 24th letter, that it does not adequately or accurately necessarily portray the report's findings. Do you know what they're referencing with that?
No, I don't.
Okay, so fast forward to today. Senator Dick Durbin, he asked Barr about Mueller, and it starts with Barr's answer.
My understanding was his concern was not the accuracy of the statement of the findings in my letter, but that he wanted more out there to provide additional context to explain his reasoning on why he didn't reach a decision on obstruction.
I'll just say this, Mr. Barr. If you received a letter from Bob Mueller a few days after your March 24th letter, it was clear he had some genuine concerns about what you had said and done to that point.
Well, joining us now, former federal prosecutor Gene Ross. He worked under Barr in the Justice Department. Gene, let me put it in polite French here. Mueller, he certainly, reading between the lines, he was pissed, okay, in that Barr went out and put out. It wasn't his job, first of all, Barr, to reinterpret a 448-page report. He chose to do that of his own volition, and he did it inaccurately. And Mueller, to put it in paper in a legal document from one attorney to another, that's not firing off an email. That was substantive. And to hear Barr spin it, Barr misled Congress, and he misled the American public about not only the contents of the report, but also the concerns and conversations.
You know, Richard, you hit the nail on the head with the use of that word. I want to say this about Robert Mueller. For him to make the decision to put in paper, and for history basically, his concerns about the accuracy of the summary letter of March 21st, that is a monumental and profound event. And you also have to add, in the beginning of that letter, Mueller talks about the executive summaries that he had drafted that he thought should go to the public because it was accurate and full. And it's just like a judge who says that a witness has not been candid. Mueller's letter, to put it mildly, is basically calling the Attorney General duplicitous and deceitful. And this is a monumental event, and the Barr attempts to sugarcoat it are frankly revolting to me.
Listen, you work for Barr. I don't understand this, Gene. At one point today, he unprompted, God bless him, he can speak in legalese and basically run out the clock for 5 minutes, and he made it an art form today. It was frankly frustrating trying to get some just transparency, which, by the way, was part of the reason for his appointment, or at least what he promised during the confirmation hearings. At one point he said, to listen to the comments basically from the assembled senators, or I guess from the Democratic side of the aisle, you would think that something was found on this president. This poor man, in effect, lost 2 years of his presidency to unfounded claims. No, it didn't. Forget about all the indictments and the convictions that went along with this. There was good reason why this was set up. And if you can explain to our audience, in no way, shape, or form did Mueller exonerate the president, not just on obstruction, but even on conspiracy. He didn't reach a conclusion, but there was a different standard. Can you please separate the rhetoric from the reality for us?
Well, what I suggest that all the listeners and viewers do is read this report. And I got to tell you this, any fair-minded prosecutor, whether it's an R or a D, even the general public, that reads Volume 2, the obstruction, and does not conclude that a reasonable prosecutor should bring charges of obstruction against the United States, then I'll eat my hat. And what Barr said today is that it would have been impossible to bring obstruction charges, especially on the McGahn incident. That is absolutely untrue. And going to Mueller again, the reason he's upset is this. He could not conclude that the president was not guilty of obstruction. What Mueller did conclude is, I can't charge him because of the OLC memo, and I think Congress should decide this because these could be grounds for impeachment, and Barr is doing something that really offends me. He is violating the role of an attorney general. An attorney general is the people's lawyer. He represents the United States. He doesn't represent a person. He is not the lapdog for the president. He is your attorney, he's my attorney, he's everybody's attorney, and he's disappointing me greatly.
There was also a couple non-answers that I thought were noteworthy, and tell me if you did the same. When pressed as to whether or not Barr, in his now capacity as Attorney General, had shared any information with the president on the 14 ongoing probes in the Southern District, the Eastern District, etc., he didn't answer the question. He also didn't answer the question if it had come up through the White House's recommendation or others to look into people associated with the probe. Again, suddenly the verbose Barr, went silent on that. What does that tell you? If anybody thought that this guy was going to be impartial here and above it all, we can't even know if he's sharing with the subject of probes ongoing investigations about, the subject of interest, and also if maybe they're creating an enemies list to go after. I mean, this is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
I was a Wheaties guy, but I respect people who ate Cocoa Puffs, okay? But here's what's going on. Rod Land the Plane Rosenstein and Bill Barr are communicating with the White House, if not the president directly, about who is a subject, who is a target, and the focus of those, other matters, including the Russian thing and the obstruction. Here's what I now recommend. He'll never resign, Barr. He'll never be impeached. I think we now have grounds to have him recused from all the matters affiliated with Mueller at all. And also, given his answer, Richard, about whether he knew about Mueller's opinions, there's a possible perjury violation here or obstruction of justice. I can't believe I'm even saying that.
There's the other part, Gene, which is if you just landed here and you listened to the Attorney General and the Republican questioners for the most part, you'd swear the most pressing issue was the spying and that the Justice Department basically having some covert cabal that they were out to get Trump on meaningless and baseless charges. I can't believe, after everything we saw live on national television, the president say about wanting the Russians to hack his political opponent, wanting to firing Comey to get rid of the Russia thing, to basically put a wet one on Putin in Helsinki here and defending him over his own intel over the hacking, etc., 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 that the big focus right now is It's the media's fault, according to Barr, and we should be looking into the quote-unquote spying by the Justice Department into the president. It's like I traveled into an alternative universe, and it would be funny if we weren't talking about the reputation of the entire Justice Department in the process.
Well, I got two comments. One, they also went after Hillary Clinton in the emails today. I think Lindsey Graham mentioned that. He's still in a wad over that investigation. But the saddest part about all this, Richard, there is a huge cloud over the Attorney General, over the Deputy Attorney General, and over the entire department. And I got to tell you, any fair-minded person has to say, I don't trust the Justice Department anymore. I don't believe what they tell me. And that really pierces my soul as someone who spent almost 30 years there.
It's amazing where we have gone. And obviously, you get the sense that in many ways, Barr may have done the president more harm than good here, where I think there's inevitability we'll hear from Mueller. I think certainly we're going to be hearing from McGahn and so many others. If we weren't already, I think today may have sealed the deal on that. Gene, I always appreciate a few minutes from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
All right, everybody, we're going to pivot now from the legal to the political. I'll be joined by ABC News political director Rick Klein. He'll join us, take a look at how all this is playing out on Capitol Hill and what the Democrats may do next as a consequence.